Alright, so I watched an anime recently called The Witch and the Beast, or Majo to Yaju. Weird how it rhymes. Anyway, it's pretty good, at first at least, but the quality drops pretty significantly somewhere around the middle. Animation and direction seem fairly decent up till the Sword Witch arc, after which it goes back up to decent, then gives a cliffhanger. I'd say it's a worthwhile anime, but maybe hold off for a bit, hoping for a second season. What is it about? Witches, mages, necromancers, undead. In a world where magic is real, so is the crime, and there is only one group qualified to police these fantastical beings. I completely forgot what it is, but pretend that I give enough of a crap to know. This is a story about an unlikely duo working to fix the wrongs, lift witches' curses, and maybe, just maybe, even save the world. What did I enjoy? I suppose how dark the setting is, although sometimes unnecessarily so. The first mystery involves a witch who seemingly has everyone wrapped around her finger. Of course it's just a ruse and she has an evil plan. However, the way she goes about achieving said plan might be a little much. But aside from that, gore and psychological torture stick to the level I approve of. Also, there's just something satisfying about how the power levels are all over the place. A scenario is shown where one character is clearly superior. They go on and on about how in control they are, only for everything to get swept from under them and gore galore happens. Don't know how to explain it. Power fantasy, I suppose, but it's not as if there's a convenient self-insert for a viewer, so it's, like I said, all over the place. Better that, I enjoyed the setting, which seemed to flip-flop between being some sort of medieval European one, then a modern metropolitan city, and eventually a countryside somewhere during an unspecified time period. All of this is of course also filled with magical nonsense being intertwined with this reality. For example, there are laws regarding necromancy, and people can, legally, consent to be resurrected, although it's not exactly a clean procedure or brings a happy result. So, anyway, I struggle to praise anything specific, only coming up with these two vague things, because truly I have seen this story before. Perhaps not exactly the same, but something like Soul Eater, or Hellsing, or even Full Metal Alchemist, they all seem to follow this fairly vague formula, sometimes deviating and going in a completely different direction, but this exact start, I saw it so many times. The two heroes walk into a town. They investigate the problem. It's not exactly clear what it appears to be, and their competence seems to be in question. Then they are proven correct and show what they are actually quite capable. After this, again, I have seen all of this before. They hate each other but still stick together. Then there are more characters who do the same thing introduced, and there is also constant hinting toward an organization growing and doing something in the background. Yada yada yada. I have seen absolutely nothing new here, and while it's not necessarily bad, I wouldn't exactly praise the premise here. Besides, it wasn't perfect. What did I dislike? The quality drop, mentioned earlier, is rather steep. The budget seemingly went for the first episode, and since the first few episodes didn't actually feature that much movement and were a lot more about slow talking and investigating, it must have been easier to skimp on the animation there. But then the Sword Witch arc happens. There is a lot of fighting, a lot of rapid camera changes, gigantic fantastical powers, and so on and so forth. Yet I'd say that the most memorable parts visually are the Demon's Eye and the CGI Frost Cloud thing, that's just memorable because how weird and sloppy it looks. And lastly, visually, one thing which is always sticking to me is characters' eyes. It's actually a big one. For whatever reason, it seems like the attention to the eyes went far above and beyond the usual level for the whole anime series. Especially Guideau, the female main character, or whatever. I can probably come up with a poetic way to describe those eyes, but I'm just not gonna bother, because again, it seems like the staff didn't bother past a certain point. Although I suppose the last 3 episodes are at least passable. Probably because, again, it was a lot more talking than action, and a lot of the action involved movement which doesn't require much animation, so they could cut corners without it looking lazy. I suppose the only thing I didn't mention is the ending to the sword arc, that being somewhat adorable. So these sword witches are descendants of some old witch who sealed this demon sword of ungodly power, and only by using the witch's heart one can unleash it, blah blah blah. So they're wiped out, she's the only survivor, now keeping the sword safe all alone. But What I did like is their relationship with each other. She is supposed to be a warden, and the demon sword being a prisoner, but the two form this bond, a strange friendship, and I very much enjoyed how cute it was. How two of them deny their feelings for each other, but whatever. Also, last arc, or the add-on to it, I can't remember the last time I've seen such an obvious cliffhanger before a sequel bait. A giant revelation about world building, followed by an intriguing walk through this strange Mariana Trench world, and then, now we enter the world of vampires. And it just cuts right there and then. Oh my god, what a tease. I honestly want to rescind my earlier recommendation because this happens. It's insulting. And what a reveal too. I'm a sucker for vampires, so, no pun intended. Unless I ask for it. In any case, I'm wondering whenever another season is planned. It's always strange with Japan. They get big budget for high school trashy harem anime number 5,000,000,013, and then something mildly interesting gets buried and forgotten. This anime, like I have already said, isn't that original or new. A lot of ideas and plot points here are cherry-picked stuff from Western European folklore, mixed with some steampunk and whatever else. And it ends up not being that great. However, if this is the first season of a much bigger project, if there is more, if they expand and explore, and give me the goddamn vampires, I think it could potentially expand into a fairly fascinating direction. As is, I believe it's fairly good, but there's plenty of good stuff out there.